Welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show, where we talk all things vegan. If you're not already vegan, no worries, we'll get you there. If you are, tune in for health advice, information on climate change, and all the damage done by our most destructive industry, animal agriculture. We'll also talk cooking, theater, film, and culture. My 2 reasons for starting this podcast: to entertain, to inform, and to make people vegan. Oh, that's 3. Shit. Hello and welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show. You can find us across all your favorite podcast platforms. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Apple and other podcast platforms. And you could find us at realmeneatplants.com. My special guests today are a duo, a musical duo called the Bergamot, and they are also the co-directors, co-producers, and co-stars of a documentary film called State of the Unity. It is an award-winning film. It's won something like 39 awards. Jillian Speece and Nathaniel Hoff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. We're excited.
So you're just back from a European tour with your film, is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we spent a month in Europe working on some new music, screening the film, and doing some performances as well.
So you must have been thinking, well, let's get this show over in Paris and in Germany so we can hurry up and get back and be on the Glenn Mercer Show, right?
Yeah.
It must have been a rush of excitement for you. So how did the screening go? How did the screening go in Paris?
It went so well. It was very cool. It was at the American Church Paris, which is this very historic, very grand church. But the specific room that we screened in, we did a screening, town hall Q&A, and live performance. And the thing that was very special about this room is in the 1960s, Bob Dylan performed in this room with Joan Baez.
Wow.
And they did a very special performance as they were really going across the world, promoting peace and promoting inclusion. So it was really powerful to be in the same room as Bob Dylan. Yeah. And you had the harmonica all strapped on too. He does the harmonica, sings, plays guitar. We sing together. So it was really fun.
Now you guys met where?
We met at Mishawaka Marian High School in Mishawaka, Indiana. And when I was 18, she was 16, and we were both musicians at the time. We always say that she was the star of the church band and I got kicked out of the church band. So we knew we definitely would have a good partnership musically. And that began a journey. We wrote a song together when we were in high school, and that song we were very lucky. It got featured at the state level for the competition that it was for, and that began a blossoming relationship. I was lucky because Jillian, I don't think, was so attracted to me when we first started writing music together. So it was fun to have that song experience some success, and that kind of brought us together to perform and also to travel, and that began our relationship. So we can really say that the music started our relationship. It wasn't a relationship that we decided that we wanted to do music in our free time, but rather it was something that we've been very lucky and blessed on this journey to be together and creating all this music and film now too as well.
All right, so let me ask Jillian, was that story accurate?
It was almost accurate.
Almost accurate. What part of it was he making up?
Okay. So we say oftentimes, like, his head's more in the clouds a little bit. So we met when I was 15 and you were 17, not 16 and 18. It was close. Which is so funny. But these are the things that I always think about. But then the only other thing that was actually, everything else was pretty accurate. The only thing was I wasn't sure about him because he was so quiet. And I didn't know what to do with him at first. But then when we started hanging out and doing music together, I realized, he actually talks and has ideas. He's not as shy as right the first night that we met. So then we really hit it off and we talked.
So when you were 15, were you open to a relationship with an older guy of 17?
So I wasn't allowed to date till I was 16 years old. So we were just hanging out. We were friends. But I was totally open. He was very cool. He played a lot of different instruments, which I thought was really neat. And yeah, like we had a lot of great intellectual conversations. He drove around in like a 1992, was it a Saab?
Yeah.
And he listened to classical music, and it was so weird. Nobody did that. So I thought, oh, this is so bizarre, but I'm like intrigued.
And
so when was the first date? Were you 16 during the first date?
No, yeah. See, that's the thing. So she was 16. I was 18. She was 16 when we first started dating because we met.
So you see, Jillian, he doesn't count it until it's the first date.
You don't need
the meeting. That's not the thing. It's the first date. You count from the first date.
That's what you count
That's what's in the male record book, you know?
It is.
Count
it is.
From
And it wasn't until the summer of my senior year, which I was getting ready to go to college and Jillian was getting ready to enter her junior year, that we decided we should go on a date and see if there's, any chemistry beyond the songwriting and the music and just enjoying each other in our friendship. And it kind of slowly blossomed.
You already told me you loved me by May. So I already knew. I had like my cards closed because I was like, I don't know what love is. But by May, the end of May, before you graduate, you're like, hey, by the way, I love you. You don't have to say anything. But it was really sweet. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to be really sad
And we had enough experiences, like I said, because we'd written the song in the spring of it would have been 2003. And then it was later that year, right before the end of the year, that we went and traveled together and we got to spend some time together. So I think that we definitely had, after we had traveled and, our families, we all went down for this competition, and that was a really cool experience for us. Indianapolis, which, growing up in South Bend and not really traveling, I went to Chicago when I was a kid, but other than that, it was like, a 2-hour trip was a long way. So to do that was really fun. And then we, our relationship started to blossom. And then as we, as I was getting ready to go to college, and we really imagined our lives were going to be changing a lot, which that is there are a lot of changes that happens in life during that time. And that was when we realized that our friendship had kind of grown into something more. And then I spent the next 2 years really commuting between South Bend and Fort Wayne. I was actually on a golf scholarship. I actually loved playing golf and still do to this day. Might go hit some golf balls later. It's definitely a catharsis to music and filmmaking just to get outside and be in the elements. But so I was spending a lot of time going between the two, and Jillian would also travel to Fort Wayne. And then she was very lucky that she actually received a golf scholarship as well.
I got a full ride golf scholarship as well.
Oh, you're both golfers.
Yes.
So you're both golfers, you're both musicians, and you're both filmmakers.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a tango, that's for sure.
All right. Do you both dance?
Oh,
maybe the 4-step, but that's about it.
I love to dance. Love it.
She dances, he doesn't. All right.
He is brave enough. So we were just at
I move.
This weekend we were at our dearest friend's wedding, and we were so excited because it was a traditional Jewish wedding, and they brought in a professional dancer who taught all of us the Yiddish klezmer dance moves, and it was a blast. And I was so proud of you because he did it, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's like, I can see that this is not easy for him, but he's trying. And wasn't it fun?
It was really fun. It was really, obviously when there's learning to be involved, it's a lot more, I find it to be a lot more intriguing as you can participate in the process, as opposed to my freestyle dancing skills are maybe not as evolved as they could be.
Well, there's nothing hipper, Nathaniel, than Yiddish klezmer dancing. That could lead to backup
many things
for Beyonce. I
know. I've heard. I mean, the people are already reaching out saying, is it true that you have these skills now packed away in your backpack and ready to go at any given point? And the answer is yes. All
right. Now, what was it like when you wrote your first song together?
It was good. I mean, we were obviously super young, and we had some experiences musically. Most of my experiences were tied to learning guitar, learning Jimi Hendrix, learning Nirvana, Pink Floyd, playing guitar at, turning it up to 11 and getting my parents to scream to turn it down. And that was my experience. And Jillian came from more of a church setting. And
it's like Motown, James Taylor, singing in church. Yeah, like I started singing really, yeah, in front of people, was in church and in grade school.
We weren't really pulling on, let's say, like the chart systems and things that are a little bit more evolved. So we were kind of writing by ear, which I at least had some technical skills, and you had a good vision of what you wanted for melody. And so we combined those two things together, and it ended up being nice enough to be in this particular competition to be featured. So we thought, hey, it was the beginning of something.
Top 10. I remember writing the lyrics and the melody and going to you and saying, hey, can we do this? Well, no, I didn't actually do that. Our art teacher grabbed him from the hallway and was like, you two have to write a song together to represent our high school in the state of Indiana. And out of all the high schools, they all had to submit something. And then out of like thousands of submissions, ours was whittled down to the top 10. So I would say it was a good start.
It was definitely a start where we were like, oh, okay.
Maybe.
I guess.
What was the name of that song?
A Season's Change.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the film for a moment. The film is called State of the Unity.
Yeah.
And what was in this film, which I have seen, and it is a remarkable documentary, but a lot of people sign your vehicle. You had, what kind of a vehicle was that?
It was a 2002 Volvo V70 with approximately, when we started the journey, about 263,000 miles on it.
That's when you started.
Yeah, so it was pretty much a clunker when it hit the road.
And is it today in the Smithsonian? Where is that?
It still exists. It still exists. We're on our journey to figure out where it's headed. I'll let Jillian kind of elaborate.
So this station wagon with us went to all 50 states of America, and we invited people during the 2016 election period to sign their message of unity and peace on the station wagon, which went from city to city, state to state, over 50,000 miles. And we did 264 concert performances, sometimes on top of the roof, sometimes in beautiful venues, sometimes in someone's backyard. It was just like whatever it could be. And so after all these years, it took us 8 years to make the documentary. The documentary then went into over 39 plus film festivals, winning awards from LA to Paris and back and beyond. And then it got a distribution deal last year and was released on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and many more places, which is so cool for us. So it's video on demand there. And then we got a call because I don't want to give everything away with the film, but something happens at the end of the film with the car. And then we got a call when our film got the distribution deal. And the person at that point who had the car said, hey, we love the film and we believe in this message. If you would like to see the car again after years, it's been years that they had it, we'd love for you to see it. And we happened to be passing through on our tour in North Carolina where it was at. And so we stopped and saw the Unity car for the first time in years. And they were like, we love what you're doing. If you want to buy it back, we're going to sell it to you for $1. And then you can have it back so that someday it can go in a museum and have a proper place there with a beautiful art exhibit for unity and peace building. And we're like, yes. So last October, we did a very special album. Well, we did a very special film release at the University of Notre Dame. And we brought the Unity car out for the first time for a special signing that happened on that night. And it was the first signing since the 2016 election period. And so the car is back in our possession. Our dream is to have it in a museum. And so we're working out the details.
Well, I'm going to ask the question that I'm sure all my listeners are wanting to ask. When you bought the car for $1, did you use a bill or small change, quarters?
A bill.
You used
$1
bill.
bill.
Okay.
99 pennies and one more.
Yeah. Okay. So you're now in possession of that historic vehicle.
Yes.
That has been signed by who knows how many thousands of people.
And seen very, very many interesting and precarious moments on the road, sure.
Yeah. All right. So tell us, what was the inspiration for that film?
Yeah. So at the time that the idea to go to all 50 states, to have people sign our car with their message of unity and bring people together, at the time that that came to me was around the time that my grandfather was making his transition from this life to the next. And he had just passed away. And we had driven from Brooklyn. We were living in Brooklyn, New York at the time. We drove from Brooklyn, New York, all the way back to South Bend, Indiana, and came to his funeral. And during that week, losing anyone in your life, I think, always creates a sense of kind of existential crisis. You kind of reevaluate the decisions that you've made and the choices that you've made and the professions that you're going on, and thinking, how can you honor someone's legacy in kind of like that grieving cycle. And one of the things that came to me at the time, because he was the father of 10, and I always thought about the house that my grandfather and grandmother had built as being a very welcoming space. You know, he was the timekeeper for Notre Dame football for 35 years. And so you never knew who was going to walk into the house on a game day. And no matter who it was, they were invited to be with the family, to eat, to enjoy friendship and kinship. And so I really wanted to do something to honor that space that they had created for me growing up. And I really just had this idea that if we could create a space out on the road — we were touring at the time, using this vehicle a lot — if we could use this vehicle as a way to bring people together of different backgrounds to feel like they had a shared space where they could share their vision of a better future, that it would be timely, because things in the country at the time felt like they were becoming a little bit more divisive, a little bit more aggressive, and that there was a lot of friction. And we thought this would be a great way to give back. And so that was where the vision of having people come together, and ultimately that it was an act of unity to have people sign next to each other, to stand next to someone of a different race, religion, background, and sign your name and put your message, and then somebody else could sign next to yours and not deface yours, but also those messages could go forward into the future. So it was kind of a prophetic vision of having this thing that could exist, that could peacefully bring people together for a common cause. And in the end, we decided to auction the car off for a children's hospital. And it was through that bringing people together that we were able to, we went on tour, we used the music to bring people together peacefully. And then the car was the way that they could put their message on it and move it forward. And then we just documented the whole thing. We were like, we're going to turn this into a film. We didn't know at the time what that film was going to look like. It was funny, this afternoon we were going through files and I stumbled across the first version of the film. We went through about 8 versions of the film before we landed on the one we have now that's on Apple TV. But, we never know what those journeys are going to look like. And so that's where the journey began. And then it slowly became refined throughout. And you can see in the movie how things kind of evolved from 2 people in New York City, putting this idea that they want to learn more about unity. They want to learn more about the world that they're growing up in, and actually going out into the country and doing it and learning along the way. And hopefully those things that we learned can be shared with a greater audience as they watch the film.
Now, Jillian said before that it took 8 years to make the film, right? So how much of that time was shooting and how much was editing and raising funds, and why 8 years?
Great question. So 2 things that are important to note about this. When this idea struck on the eve of Grandpa Weber passing away, we didn't know exactly where this was going to lead. We also were not trained filmmakers. Like, we did not go to school to become filmmakers. So we didn't know what the hell we were doing. So part of the reason why it took so long is because we kept failing forward. All these different versions of the film kept evolving, and we'd pull what was good and throw out what was bad, and then be like, oh, we got to go back to the table. But we filmed all of 2016, starting on January 2nd, 2016, all the way through the election. We continued filming. Actually, we filmed a little bit into 2017, just for extra like footage and context. But most of the clips that went and actually landed in the film are all from 2016, and a little bit from 2015 when the idea struck. So you'll see that kind of move throughout. Now, it took so long to edit because we were learning how to edit. You were teaching yourself how to use a lot of the systems to edit. And I was also learning how to organize, how to produce, watching a lot of different documentaries, writing, ooh, this is really good. This is how you tell a story. So we were teaching ourselves how to do this. Plus, getting team members across America to join on board. So our first team that we worked with is Garage Creative, and we're eternally grateful to them. They're in Cleveland, Ohio, and they really helped get the narrative. So all those fancy, beautiful shots of us sitting and talking, we were talking to Mark, who was one of the creative directors on the project. And we had those kind of grounding out the shakier shots of the road. And then we also at one point took the project from that team because they got really busy with certain things, and kind of directionally we had different visions. We took the project to LA, and that's where we took it home starting in 2020 when the pandemic hit. And we worked on it for 2 years with our team in LA. Dalton Meisner is incredible. And then we were able to secure a very special place in the Sedona International Film Festival. And that was February 2022. That literally kicked down every single door, every single film festival, because we ended up winning at that film festival, the Excellence of Filmmaking Award. And that film festival is one of the top 20 film festivals in America. So then it just took off like wildfire, which led to the distribution deal and everything. And one thing I want to note about the beginning of the film is that his grandfather was a Republican and his grandmother was a Democrat. And this is important because this set up this kind of idea that we wanted to go out into America and be a bridge. So no matter who you are, no matter what your background, no matter who you're voting for, we want to hear from you. We want to create a safe, peaceful space and civically engage with people where they're at. So that was like a really important part. And they really inspired that beginning. And also my grandparents were also like that as well. So it's kind of an ode to that generation and working together, even with our differences.
So do you see any change in America in the last 8 years? Things better or worse in your opinion?
I think definitely worse. But I also think that that's why making the film that we did at the time that we did was really important, because I think that through watching the film, you get a better understanding of what was really happening on the ground during that time. I mean, obviously, there's so many good people in this country. I mean, obviously, it's outweighed in the news because tragic acts tend to steal the headlines, and that's what everybody really reads these days, it feels like. But one of the things that we learned was that, you know, by going out into the world and learning from everyone, learning from people from, you know, we were in high end places. We were in places where we were struggling to get by. So we really met people from all walks of life. And I think that it's really important to share stories from the ground, because what I say is that, you know, throughout history, it's easy to read history and say, okay, well, these things happen. And depending on which historic perspective, it's like, okay, well, these are the facts and this is how it happened. But I have always thought that I love reading, you know, Tolstoy and Charles Dickens. And, you know, when you think about the French Revolution, you can see the history of it, or you can read Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities, and you can kind of get more into the minutia of what people were living through at that time. And I think that it's important, especially in storytelling, that we continue to share the stories of what's happening on the streets, because it's not always in line with maybe what history will see or what the news is reporting. But when you're telling stories and you're meeting people on the road, you're catching a different part of what's happening in the country. And I think that it was important for us to capture that, because going forward, it's good to have these tools of how we can continue to work together. And what we found in the film and what we educated ourselves on, and this was a revelation to us, that it's not a shared narrative of a future. It's a narrative of a shared future. And so it's about changing the space upon which we look at unity. And I think that, you know, after the last 8 years, we've definitely learned that things seem to be kind of descending into further extremism. Mm-hmm. And we have our theories as to why that's going on. We really do believe that through a lack in civic engagement, we've seen an increase in extremism. And we think
so. Let me interrupt you there. A lack of civic engagement. Do you think that's the number one cause of greater friction in society, or do you blame social media or other effects?
You know, I think it's all tied together, and that's a great question, because I think I'm going to paint it and give you an example of where I think we're at, and this is just my take on it. And you know, it could be wrong, could be onto something. The viewers can decide. But I always say that civic engagement is like Here's how I describe it. So you and me are both driving on a road. I'm going one way, you're going the exact opposite way, right? So happens all the time. Well, a tree falls in the road, right? And you're on one side of the tree, I'm on the other side of the tree. And we both pull up to the tree. Well, there's a lot of ways that you could solve that particular problem. You could get on your phone and you could call your local congressman and you could say, hey, we need to develop laws about how when trees fall, who's responsible to take them out. And we need to have responsibilities of people and owners of the trees. And that could take years while you're just sitting there waiting for the tree to be removed. And while you're doing, you could call the cops. The cops might say, hey, you know, we've got other things that we're tending to. We can't tend to this fallen tree right now because we're so busy. There's other ways to have it resolved. But as we're sitting there, people are piling up behind us, right? And by the time the 100th car pulls up, they can't see the tree in the road and they're honking on their horn. And they're not even sure why they're honking on their horn, but they're angry because there's no progress that's happening. But yet what we're finding is civic engagement is me getting out of my car and saying, you know what, even though I'm sitting here, I'm going to step out of what I think should be doing, and I'm going to go try to move this tree. And I might call across to you and say, hey, you know, we need to get 100 people out here to move this tree together and get back to work. And through working together, we're able to remove the tree. We get back in our cars and we pull away. Now, to say that there is value in doing things in the future where you can develop laws and working with other people to deal with the tree. But in that when we return to progress, I think that the extremism side of things tend to fall. Now, how does social media tie into all that? I think that a lot of social media has actually caused us to become less civically engaged. And what I mean by that is that social media has bred us to believe that by sharing something on our social media page, that we've actually engaged with our community. And the truth of the matter is that actually has done nothing. So one, you think you've done something, so you're giving yourself that pat on the back because you shared something on your Facebook page, but in reality, you haven't actually removed the tree from the road. You just took a picture of the tree, shared it on your social media and said, isn't it terrible when trees fall? And then 1 million people like it, but the tree's still on the road. What I think is really important is that we have to look at social media as a tool, but civic engagement and getting back in our communities, getting back in our homes and in the mirror. I'll let Jillian talk about our 1 mile concept that we've developed. Getting back to that is the most important thing that we can do because social media is not going to remove the trees in the road for us, but it is a tool to help get to people together. But I'll let Jillian explain a little bit more about the 1 mile concept.
Let me ask a question. Jillian,
Yes.
What's the 1 mile concept?
Love it, Glenn. Okay, so we actually named this the 1 mile method in Germany. We did a 5-hour workshop where we taught this after we screened the film. And essentially it comes down to this. What you're saying is, in my opinion, absolutely accurate. I'm going to go just a pinch deeper in setting this up. So there's 4 steps to the 1 mile method. So it starts with you in the mirror. So in order to move forward in our society, in order to move forward with the people in our communities, we have to get good in the mirror with ourselves. So we have to either forgive ourselves for things that we've done in the past that are holding us back. We have to get good. You know, if you're somebody who believes in the divine, then we have to get good with the divine. We have to get to a place where we can fully show up in our authentic self and show up in a way that is expansive and also loving. So we have to learn to love ourselves first. It's kind of like when you get on an airplane and they're explaining the oxygen mask, they're like, put yours on first before you help someone else. Well, in this way, I feel like we've gotten away from really like getting good with ourselves. So that's first, you have to focus on really understanding who you are, what's your authentic voice, how can you contribute, how can you love yourself deeper so you can love others deeper. The second thing is going to your kitchen table. So figuring out a way to love those at your kitchen table, whether it's your wife or your children, or if you don't have those, your friends and family who come to visit, and learning ways to become a bridge. So if somebody thinks differently, if they eat differently, if they vote differently, learning constructive and peaceful ways to talk with them without trying to change them, which is very difficult for someone like myself. I am a Taurus, so I can be very passionate and very stubborn and want to change people if I think something's better. But really you get to the table and you realize, okay, how can I love these people better? I'm loving myself better. I need to learn to love these people and be a bridge. Then you start by going to your front door. You look to your right and your left, your 2 next door neighbors. How often do you engage with them? Are you somebody who's peacefully engaging with your neighbors? Do you know their names? Do you know their families? Do you know what's happening in their lives? Are you going outside And even if you disagree with, some things that they're doing, are you trying to become somebody who can peacefully coexist and also share in this space and get to know them and love them for where they're at? And then it starts from that block to 1 mile radius around your house. So that's civically engaging within your community, whether it's going and saying, wow, I really love gardening. There's this unity garden that exists and everybody can eat from this garden. And I'm going to donate my time and volunteer there to make this community a better place and lift it up. So it starts inside, it starts at your kitchen table, it starts at your front door, it starts within 1 mile block radius of where you live. And we had this opportunity to teach like a full multi-hour course on this. And we actually hope to make it into a book because there's a lot of detailed steps. But the thing that excites me the most is it's very simple. There's a lot of things in our world that are very complicated and complex. This is not complex, but it actually works. Like we've seen this method work not only in individuals, but them going out in their communities and making a difference. And it's very powerful to see this kind of transform the way that the systems are kind of set up.
Now, without getting into the specifics of politics and political candidates, did you ever encounter somebody who believed the exact opposite of what you believe?
Yeah.
And manage to navigate this in such a way that you could have a dinner conversation and at the end somehow you were all singing Kumbaya?
Yeah, I think, well, one of the things is that we do not encourage all to come together and sing Kumbaya. For sure, that may not actually be helpful at all. But what I will say is that there is an example of this. I am going to use the film as the example. Might be a little bit of a spoiler here, but if you get a chance to watch it, you'll dive in a little bit deeper. I'm going to kind of take the topical view, but on our travels with the Unity Collective, obviously we had a car that was signed and it had messages, and people, they would feel either they would feel really good about it, or they would feel kind of indifferent, or maybe very adamantly against it. And so we met a trucker in Texas, just outside of Las Vegas, when we were traveling. And he saw the car and had a total opposition to it. He was just kind of like, what is this? Why are you doing this? Like,
he was against unity.
He was just against this idea of like, I don't know what exactly he was against, but we gave him our pitch and he just was not buying it.
What
he
was the pitch, though?
The pitch was, hey, we're going to all 50 states. We'd love to have you sign it. You're from Texas. He was a trucker, kind of a little bit more. He just had an energy about him that he was trying to present. And so I presented what we were doing and
spreading a message of unity.
Spreading a message of unity in the car signings. And he just was not really buying it, because I was like, hey, you want to sign it? And he's like, I'm good, man. I'm good. I don't know about it. And I just think he was, looking back, I think he was probably just overwhelmed, but initially he was not resonating with it. So he left. And so at the same time, there was a Chinese family and they came up to the car and they had a totally different reaction to it. They were really excited to sign it. They wanted to sign in Chinese. And we were like, that would be amazing. We'd love to have different, languages, backgrounds represented. So at the time they're signing it and he comes back to the car because something in him kind of moved him to come back. And he saw the Chinese family and there was a sense of kind of, I think he just didn't know. Now he was seeing this thing in action. He was seeing people signing it, and he even had another reaction to it. But then he kind of said that, oh, I hear you guys make great Chinese food. Just some sort of like off the cuff, kind of uncomfortable comment. And we were worried that it could get out of control. But actually what happened was the total opposite. As they were signing and being interviewed, they said, we wish you safe travels along your journey. And at that time, right before they did their interview, he actually said that he wanted to sign it. I don't know if it was because he saw them signing it. He just felt like he wanted to participate then. And so he signed it, and he's standing next to me and we're interviewing them. And she says, I want to give, safety for all your journey, safety and good luck in these travels. And he leaned over to me and he's like, man, I pretty much wrote the same thing that they wrote. And in that moment, I could sense he kind of had things just kind of melted away. And he had this human connection, right, to these people that he may have viewed as evil up until this point. And so in that moment, the art, the music, the film, whatever it may be, but the art, in this case, the car with its signatures, was a thing that was able to bring people together, that kind of opened their minds up. And it allowed us to have a more human moment, as opposed to this kind of, it started as he viewed them as the enemy. They weren't really sure how to feel about him. And so a lot of friction, like you can imagine, sitting around your kitchen table. But what we always say is that it's not about going at the issues. It's not about going at the politics. It's about going into something, speaking about art, speaking about something that has a more human and interpretive thing. And by allowing that human element back in, we can become more empathetic. And once we try to understand people, and we talk about this in the film as well, that's a much more difficult journey than judging people. And what we find is that even though people may be coming from different sides, it's because of their human experience that's led them to these decisions. Those are hard conversations to have, but art and open-mindedness and what you see in the film is the beginnings of how you start to pull somebody, I think, back from that kind of extremism movement. But we found that that was the way that we were able to share the message. And ultimately, we had really profound revelations. And also, we were able to communicate with people that we didn't agree with in a way that was meaningful, productive, and also helpful in the end, because in the end, he was able to take that experience with him going forward. And that's what it's all about.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with Jillian and Nathaniel. The film, again, is called State of the Unity. You could find it on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. We'll be right back.
All right, if you've ever wanted to show off your plant-based lifestyle and do it in style, here's your chance. We have some of the most amazing t-shirts, hats, accessories, coffee mugs, and more at shop.realmeneatplants.com. We have statement t-shirts that will bring a smile to everyone's face. I love the I Want Tofu Tonight tee. Plus, we have podcast tees, Real Women Eat Plants gear, Real Kids Eat Plants, and Real People Eat Plants, just in case men, women, and kids didn't cover it all. Yeah, we love you and love that you want to show off that healthy lifestyle of yours. Again, check out our high-quality gear at shop.realmeneatplants.com and enjoy.
Okay, we're back with Jillian Speece and Nathaniel Hoff. Together, they are a duo called the Bergamot. And I asked them during the break how they would describe their music. Would they say folk rock? How would they describe it? And they thought about it, and then they Googled it. So there you go. They're not very sure.
It said pop music, but
Can you trust Google?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think pop music, you still have to go further with it. So with that, if let's say it's pop music in general, but it's heavily influenced with folk, with rock,
Songwriting,
and singer-songwriters from the 70s, that kind of golden era folk singer-songwriter.
Now, when I was a kid, I used to like a form of music called folk punk.
Okay, yeah.
Folk songs like "If I Had a Hammer, I'd Hammer Your Face," things like that.
Yes. Yeah. Constructive, but also a little edgy. I like it.
Yeah.
Like a hammer implies you're going to do work, and the face is a little bit edgy. I like it.
Yeah. So tell us about the Bergamot. How'd you come up with the name? How do you write the songs? Where do you get your gigs?
Yeah, so the name was influenced through a trip that I had to a natural food grocery store in South Bend, Indiana, and I can't remember
the Purple Porch.
I wish this would have been
Fort Wayne, Indiana. You bought it in college.
Yeah, it was. But I had even gone to a place
the
in
Natural
South
Grocers. Was it?
No. This was in South Bend years. This would have been probably 21 years ago. So it would have been a long time ago. And I came across bergamot oil, and I just like the name Bergamot. I just like the way it looked on in print and everything.
Yeah.
And so that kind of was tucked away in the back of my head. And then years later, we were looking for a band name, and we were all sitting around coming up with ideas. And I came up with the Bergamot because I had thought back to this word that I really enjoyed and also liked the scent. And then we were like, everyone was like, okay, that seems interesting. Let's do some more research on it. Let's dive in. Let's see what it means and actually think about it. And so we just started doing some Google searches, and it was like, used in aromatherapy to induce happiness and relieve stress. And it was all about positivity and uplifting. And it's also in Earl Grey tea, which we're big coffee and tea lovers. So it was.
So do you anoint yourself in bergamot oil when you perform?
I mean, we may pump it out. We pump it out into the audience.
It is our biggest seller in our merch is the Bergamot essential oil unisex roll-ons that I sell. I make different blends. I've got a Big Sur bergamot blend. I've got a lavender bergamot blend, and these things sell out like hotcakes. It's super fun. And I also make bergamot essential oil soy candles that sell out too. So those, we're on a roll with that.
So where are you going to be gigging next?
So we're actually going to be headed to Arkansas on April 11th. We're going to be screening the film at Crystal Bridges. They have a beautiful art museum, and we're screening it there. We're doing a town hall Q&A, a live performance. Then on the 27th, we're headed to Detroit, Michigan for a screening presentation as well as a musical performance. And then we're going to be adding so many more dates, and you can find that on the Bergamot. That's BERGAMOT.com. Right on that homepage, we have all of our upcoming tour dates. So you don't want to miss out. So check that.
Yeah. And to go a little further, we have screening potentially coming up in Michigan later this summer, and then also some Christmas concerts that we do every year in December. So if you're looking for something around those times, summertime's always good time to get out, and Christmas is I always love listening to music and having events around that time as well. So stay tuned. Lots going on that front for shows, screenings, performances.
And in June, I'm super excited. I'm going to be hosting my 3rd annual women's retreat called Wild Wondrous Women.
I was going to ask you about that. So tell us about the Wild Wondrous Women's Retreat.
Yes. I mean, it's wild. So I started this in 2018, and it's a very special retreat because it is 100% off the grid. So no cell phones allowed, no iWatches or iPads or anything digital. And it's 3.5 blissful days on the shores of Lake Michigan, where we're eating plant-based foods. We're having beautiful bonfires at nights. There's workshops, there's yoga in the morning. And it's just an absolute blast. Like, we dance, we stargaze, we go swimming in the lake together, and it's just so much fun. So I love hosting this, and the dates are June. I'm like, what month? June 16th through the 19th.
Is there a website for this?
Yes, it's wildwondrouswomen.com, and everything is open right now. So yeah, I'm really,
and that's
really
wondrous spelled WONDROUS, right?
You got it. Yes, exactly.
Wild Wondrous Women's Retreat. Okay.
Yes, and all the details are there.
Nathaniel and I are not invited to that.
Not yet. Well, I might do one. I might do like a one for men at some point too, like everybody.
But this is a vegan retreat too, right?
So yeah, it's completely plant-based, vegan. And if somebody's gluten-free, they just need to let me know, and we can accommodate other like allergies and stuff like that.
Now, Jillian, how long have you been vegan?
Okay, so I am technically not 100% vegan.
What's the 1% failure rate?
So I would say the little 1% is, if we're in Paris and there happens to be like a croissant, like that's like my weakness, I have to say.
You're a croissant vegan.
I'm literally very close. I'm a croissant vegan. So that is like my greatest.
It's the French exception.
That it is literally like, I don't know how I can live without this. So we were just in Paris, and like, not yet. I'm not there yet, but it's, when they dangle one in front of me, I'm like, I will take a bite.
Is that your one culinary sin, or not culinary, really, I should say dietary sin?
I would say dietary. That's probably, that and, honey once in a while.
Pork chops. No.
Manchego cheese sometimes, like once a year during Christmas, someone might put a little of that in front of me, and I will have a little bit. But I eat literally day to day, I would say, in my day to day, very, very close to vegan as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So 99% vegan.
Yes.
Okay. And you, Nathaniel?
So I am a very strict opportunitarian.
Oh my God.
Opportunitarian?
Wow.
Yes.
I never heard that term before.
Yeah.
What is that?
let me, I will gladly describe. So being that we're musicians, living on the road, we always do send in our dietary information, what we like to eat, those type of things. But, music is not a super lucrative thing. There are many other things I could have done in life to make a lot more money. And so when food ends up on the table, a lot of times things get crossed up and it's like, oh, we didn't know Jillian was vegetarian, or we didn't know she was vegan. So, okay, we're not going to eat these foods. So I just eat whatever is left. If there's something that she can't eat, I'm going to be eating it. And
like I'll give him oftentimes, like I'll put cheese on his plate or things that I'll say, hey, I want vegan, this is what my dietary, and sometimes it'll be like, they think vegan is with cheese and like other things. I'm like, I can't.
But I'm also very strict against food waste. So I'm like, that's like my thing. So I try to, this has always been a thing within our band. We always tell people, don't ever throw away any food, because you never know what the next day might hold in store for us.
Let me interrupt you here. You said within our band. Isn't the band the two of you?
Yes.
Yes.
You say within our band, you're talking about you and your partner.
Actually, we do bring on
drummer.
Do you say hi band to each other?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? We have a drummer and a bass player and multiple drummers across America that we join us.
The way that we look musically at what we do is kind of like what Steely Dan did in the 70s. They would have different players come on at different times based off of the tour, based off of availability, studio, that type of stuff. So we are expandable within our band. When we do a lot of our Christmas performances and a lot of our shows in the summer, we'll have a 4-piece, 5-piece. And we travel with a lot of these people as well. And so,
and they become like family to us.
Yeah. And whenever somebody goes on the road with us, there's obviously a lot of road rules, because you can imagine road life is very difficult. It can be very challenging and also very rewarding, but very challenging. And, and so what we always say is that, and then there's another side of the opportunitarian diet, which is, when we're at places like in Germany, there are people who like to share certain experiences because it's maybe their favorite food or whatever. And I might try something once and say, this was a really good experience, to share and have that connection with people.
I'm always out on it. I say, if it has a face or if it comes from a face, I'm out. So I'm putting that in the front. I'm just like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. But I actually when I was very young, I gave up red meat. I gave up pork. I gave up a lot. I actually was not vegetarian, but I did kind of refine my diet.
I'm actually the way I am, because I met you in high school and he was actually way stricter than me. I had no clue. He ate organic stuff. He ate very clean. And now I'm like the clean when you're kind of naughty. You're definitely naughty.
Well, hey, I'm it's about holding space for each other. It's not about being the same. It's about, hey,
All right, let's engage in some role playing.
Oh no!
Let's go.
By the way,
all right, now Nathaniel.
Yeah.
In this role playing, I want you to assume you're a vegan.
Okay.
You've been a vegan now for 5 years, and Jillian has been a little naughty, and she had, I don't know, a burger somewhere.
Ooh. That's intense. That's going all in. Yeah.
Right. She had a hot dog.
Oh, that's low quality.
Explain to Jillian why she needs to go vegan.
Well, first off, because like I said, I don't eat a lot of like hot dogs, those type of meats. It would be about processed meat. That's the number one thing that in America.
Well, tell her.
Yeah, so I would be like, Jillian, did you know that processed meats cause a lot of problems? And for example, one of the things that we always talk about is that in Indiana, our home, a lot of the farmland is used for agro feed. So basically,
now, Jillian, you had an organic grass-fed burger, so counter his argument.
I had actually an organic grass-fed burger from Phoebe's, which is a local artisanal shop. What's wrong with that?
Well, I think you have to think about well, how was your digestion?
It seemed fine, but I don't know anything different because that's what I eat all the time.
Okay. Well, he said that you had a slip up. So you don't eat burgers a lot. You just ate it this one time.
No, I eat like burgers. I eat burgers, but I eat mostly like, I'll have pork when someone puts it in front of me. or lamb at the Indian buffet.
So tell her
Or-
what's wrong. Tell her what's wrong with that, Nathaniel. Tell her why she's making a big mistake.
You're making a big mistake because there are healthier options that you could be choosing.
Well, go on. What
And those healthier options are maybe not as filling, but they are healthier for you. You just got to eat more of them.
And what about the environment? You want to mention the environment to her?
Yeah, and the environment. Well, there's a lot of greenhouse gases emitted from beef in particular.
Mhm.
But
what about chickens? And are they omitted? Like,
I don't actually know that much about chickens.
you eat them?
That's where my knowledge it ceases to exist.
Oh, really?
All right. Well, I'll give you a little more you could add next time.
All right.
Do I need to convince him to eat
Yeah.
meat now?
You see, this climate change problem we're having here, it's caused by the way we use land on the earth. 40% of the non-ice land surface of the earth is devoted to raising animals. 40%. So, and then we grow grains on another 6% of the earth, and we feed 3/4 of that to the animals. So it's just wildly, wildly wasteful and inefficient. If we didn't make the mistake of eating animals, we could rewild 40% of the earth, and we wouldn't even waste too much of that 6% that we're using to grow food for animals, which is all sprayed anyway. So the only way to stop climate change is to stop the grazing, stop the animal farms, and rewild all that land that we're wasting and all that grain that we're wasting. So the plight of the animals aside, I have a lot of friends whose first argument is about the cruelty to animals. But the plight of the animals aside, it's an environmental nightmare, any way you look at it, to waste all that land. And then, of course, we're destroying the oceans with mile-wide fish nets and bottom trawling the oceans to get fish that we feed to the cows and the pigs. And humans get 3% of their calories from the ocean. So we're destroying the ocean for 3% of our calories. So it's the way we're using the earth. And if instead we eat like human beings and we eat plant foods, we save the earth, we reverse climate change. And there's no way to reverse climate change other than that. Because even if we, drive electric cars, we're still creating so many greenhouse gases from animal agriculture that the planet will keep heating. So it's the only way to save the earth. That's the end of my speech.
Okay, so I have to challenge
Whoa.
you to a role playing then as
All
well.
right.
Oh,
All right.
So
Go
let's
ahead.
say you're in a touring band
Okay.
and you have your dietary restrictions
Yeah.
and you show up to a venue
Yeah.
and they have a pre-made meal for you.
Yeah.
It does not fit your dietary needs.
Yeah.
What do you do with the food if it's not what you wanted?
Okay. First, I begin by saying, Joe, I should have called you in advance and told you that I only eat plant foods. I'm sorry I didn't call you. You've prepared some cheese and meatballs for me. I can't eat them. So that's okay. I brought some food with me. I'll be fine. You can just throw that out. That's what I say.
But the only challenge I have for you, though, is that there is value in preventing food waste as well. And I think that there is within a community, I think, this is my own feeling, and this is not saying that anything is wrong or right, but I'm saying within a community, if you have people like me who are like, okay, this isn't what we wanted. Obviously, Jillian's
I
not going
always
to eat
put,
it.
by the way, without him like liking this every time, I always put vegan food for both of us on the list.
I hate
Uh-huh.
to say that you can put vegan on, and some people that doesn't affect what they
Sometimes
bring.
they don't know what that means. Anyway,
Which
long
is
story
a
short.
whole nother thing that we have to do battle with. But what I've learned on the road with my experience, and this is just the way that is that my feeling is it's like, okay, well, in that particular example, my passion is to prevent food waste. And I've always said that that's something that we can always refine and get better. And number one, talking about industrial farming and growing of food, these are all things that we've don't have too much time to go into, but going to Europe, going to Ireland, we really did kind of learn it is important to live off the land. And if you can live off your own land, you know, what we're dealing with in America with inflation and everything else, you can really have a lower cost of living, which is really helpful. I think a lot of people right now are facing high costs
So like
for
having
food,
vegetable gardens,
but having vegetables. And also when you learn to live off the land, you learn that obviously having fresh vegetables and fruits and those things are going to be easier to access. I grew up with a lot of Amish in my community because I was in South Bend and we had a lot of people coming in from Shipshewana that would come and sell out of our garage, and they would bring whatever the land would provide. And so they would always bring a lot of like root vegetables and berries and things like that. And when those things are available, obviously would be the primary thing that I would be eating. But one of the things that I learned from the Amish was that, you know, they have root cellars. And so root cellars actually allow to eliminate waste because you can bury a lot of those root vegetables in the dirt, and then they are able to use that because the dirt gives nutrients to these vegetables throughout
but hypothetically
6 to 8 months, as opposed to refrigerating. So there's a lot of problems in getting to, let's say, a vegan mindset or vegetarian even mindset. There's a lot of things that we have to improve along the way. And one of them is just the way that we treat food. I mean, obviously refrigeration, using a microwave. These are all things that I don't like at all, regardless of the food. So it's like, we have to make progress towards getting better, but that progress, what we found, and especially what you see in the film, progress can be very sloppy. It can be very inefficient. And so we're trying to find ways along the path to be better and be more mindful. And what I always say to Jillian is that even if you can get somebody to go, let's say 5 days out of the week where they're vegan, you know, or vegetarian, that's a huge.
Would you do that?
I already do that at least a couple days a week. Yeah.
No. Wait a minute. Now you say that you do sometimes 5 days a week vegan.
Maybe probably right now more closer to 2 or 3.
Okay.
Barely two.
Well, can we get you to make a commitment to go to, let's say, I don't know, 6.5?
Oh, that's pushing it.
I think that's pushing it. For me, I could probably go.
I would be lucky if I got him 4 days a week vegan. I would be so happy if he did 4 days vegan every week.
Could you do that? Can you do 4 days vegan?
I don't know about vegan. But
well,
maybe
why this resistance to vegan?
Well, first off, I have leather shoes. That's a problem.
Oh, well, let's just say dietary vegan.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Different types. Huh?
Okay, so Jillian, we've had this discussion.
We have had this discussion before.
I think that, you know, I'm an old dog in this life. I'm already 37 years old, and I've got a lot of things that I know some
vegan dogs.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, we can do vegan. But the thing is
Glenn, how old were you when you became vegan?
I was mid-30s.
Okay, well, there you go. So you're right along that age.
I was vegetarian at 17.
Okay, that's
well, that's pretty good. That's really pretty impressive. But for me, you know, I don't know. I just don't know if I have it in me to go, let's say 5 days. I might be able to do 2 or 3, and that's kind of
well. Let me give you some reasons, and then we'll see which ones you don't resonate with you. Okay. First, health. Do you dispute that a low-fat, whole foods vegan diet is the healthiest diet?
I live hard. I'm hoping to live till I'm 50, but we'll see.
Oh, come on.
What the hell? You're not going to leave me.
You have just shocked your partner here.
I know. I live as best as I can.
This is actually, hold up. This is my number one fear. I have been eating as close to vegan as possible, like really, really tight on
occasional croissant. Other than that.
Yeah, exactly. Literally.
Right.
And the thing is that this worries me the most that I've been eating like really clean since 2011
Right.
and he hasn't. So it's my greatest fear that he's going to have health problems.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I won't, but I'm saying that he would have
All
problems.
right. So let me give you that argument here. Now, you love Jillian, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't
gonna
you want
kill
to
me
be
after this.
there for her and be your healthiest you and your longest lived you for her?
Yes.
God, I got to tell you, Nathaniel, I hate to be in your position right now because it's 2 against 1 right here. And you're
What if
Hey, that's okay. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
all right. So
he's tough?
don't you want to live as long as you can for her and be as
What if we had
healthy
a
as you
kid?
can for her?
What if we had a little kid? I would
I
definitely
do.
feed that kid
I do.
vegan.
I do.
Okay. So are you under the illusion that if you eat chicken or fish that that's somehow good for you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I
So
don't
you know
deceive
it's not good
myself,
for
no.
you.
Yeah.
So you know it's not good. So why wouldn't you want to just limit yourself to eating healthy human food for her? Never mind for you. For her. Do it for her.
I don't know, man. I go to Texas too often. It's too hard.
It's not hard. It's Jillian, isn't your food delicious?
Mine is. Yeah, but I feel like, okay, so during 2020, it was
Yeah.
like when the world shut down, I was cooking vegan food for both of us. And you said it was really good. Like, remember, I was cooking out of the recipe books and I was very detailed. And I was making like beautiful burgers with pineapple slices and cabbage coleslaw and like the bread. And you're like, this is really good. You like that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you
Mhm.
like that, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I mean, when you have a personal chef cooking for you, I mean, it's much
Yeah.
easier to make better dietary choices. But
All
when
right.
you're on the road
So if
and
she's
things just
cooking
show
good
up,
food, if she makes a meal of rice and vegetables or potato soup or something like that, you like it, right?
I like it, sure. The
Okay.
bigger question would be in our lifestyles with what we do. How often are we cooking? That's the
Yeah,
question.
but I eat out all the time. I eat at Kava and I get vegan food and it's the same. And I feel so good. And sometimes you feel sick and I don't because I eat the plant stuff. You know, this just happened.
Well, there you go.
She's making a lot of sense
The
to me,
proof is in
Nathaniel.
the yogurt.
You thought
What's
the
that?
yogurt was bad that you ate, and I didn't eat that.
No.
And then, have you had
It's-
plant-based yogurt, Nathaniel?
Oh yeah.
He likes
And
it.
I actually don't drink milk. I've had Oatly. I love Oatly, and I went all along. But here's the other thing
He's
too.
dabbled.
Here's the other thing too. So I started in soy milk. That was my thing, and I actually still really like soy milk. But then there was
Okay.
a lot of information that came out that soy is actually really bad for your estrogen levels.
No, that's nonsense. No.
I mean,
No,
we'd have.
no.
That's another.
These
episode.
are phytoestrogens. They have 0.1% of the power of a mammalian estrogen. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
But
Okay.
but the other thing was with soy, I actually was not feeling well. Like I actually would drink soy and I would, it was like it just wasn't good on digestion. So soy had a multiple things that I was like, okay, I don't think I'm in with soy. I don't like soybeans
like
the way that
almond
those
milk?
are treated. So then we moved to almond milk. I didn't really like the flavor of almond milk. I really preferred soy milk, but then almond milk was like, eh. And so I went with almond milk for a while, then went over to like coconut milk, which was way too expensive, macadamia milk, way too expensive. And then peanut milk, that gives you horrible indigestion. And then I got to oat milk, and I actually really like oat milk.
Okay.
And that's been something
He
that
loves that.
but I don't drink milk. I'll put a little cream in my tea, but I don't put I would not drink any like a glass of milk or eat it with cereal. It would definitely be oat milk for me there. So, it's not
All right.
like
So you got the oat milk, so that's not a problem.
Yep. So we're bringing in, but like, for example, when we were in Paris, of course I'm going to eat cheese. You know what I mean? Like it was like, there's just
Paris
no way.
we just need to avoid
I
Paris
wasn't
going
eating cheese.
forward.
But I also, when you go to Europe and we're living cheap, a lot of times I am eating a cucumber, cheese, and a loaf of bread. And that's literally my diet. And
I
that's
just ate
been
the
that way.
cucumber
Yeah,
and
but
a loaf of bread.
Could you have a cucumber, an avocado, and a loaf of bread, or a nut cheese?
There are
I'm
good
not,
ones.
I'm gonna have to say
love our
I'm not
friends.
a nut cheese fan at this point.
love
It's
our
not
friends.
something that I've tried, and I do like some, but I'm
in LA.
not there with it yet.
All right,
I'm
All
not
right,
there
but
with it
even
yet.
if you think that the evil dairy cheese tastes good,
Yes.
it could give you a heart attack. I mean, it's
Eh.
saturated fat and cholesterol. So you're eating something that isn't good for you. And as I recall, you love Jillian. So wouldn't you want to not eat the thing that's going to be high in cholesterol and saturated fat and instead have a healthier fat, let's say from an avocado? Do you like avocados?
Loves it.
I do. I will challenge your listeners. If you want to help us stay safe, we need a much more safe touring vehicle.
What?
And that's one of the things that we have actually struggled with, because I've always gone through life because, one of the things I think about with safety, right, is like there's obviously food related things that can elongate life, but we've had a lot of issues with travel where we've risked our lives to do certain things. We risked our lives to make this film. And that's something, mortality is something that I've definitely come to grips with. And I do think that it is an important part of making food choices, but we have a lot, we could die at any given moment. This chosen life that we've had is very difficult, is very fleeting, and is also very scary. And so I take all my decisions in stride with what I think I can do better, but also some of the decisions we've made are fairly reckless, and obviously.
Well, let me offer you an insight there, because just like you're a musician, I'm a playwright.
There you go.
It's just about as hard to make your living as a playwright as it is as a duo, as a band, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I decided if I'm going to have a play on Broadway, I'm probably going to have to live to at least 140. So I went on a strict low-fat, whole foods vegan diet so that I could live to see it.
Yeah,
you see that logic there, Nathaniel?
But see, mine is
gotta
like,
stay healthy to wait for the break.
But at the same time, maybe my art will be worth more if I'm not around.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Sky
I had the same reaction as Jillian there.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay, the thing that I would say,
Yeah.
just to add in my little 2 cents, would be, who do you think is healthier right now physically? Me or you? If we did a blood test with our arteries and everything, who do you think is healthier?
I would assume you.
Yeah, doesn't that kind of make you sad though?
A lot of things make me sad.
Wait, I say we do a blood test so we know.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we assess cholesterol levels and things and blood, and then we can make.
Why don't you do that?
Forward.
Do the blood test, have your cholesterol levels done. Come back on the show in 3 months after Nathaniel has been a strict vegan for 3 months. And we will see. How tall are you, Nathaniel?
6'1".
6'1". I'm betting that in 3 months on a strict vegan diet, you'll be at least 6'2". So come back. I was joking. So
I was like, all right.
I was like,
I think we're going for it.
So come back, be a strict vegan. Jillian will prepare it. Jillian, will you prepare a lot of the food for him?
Oh, I would love that.
We're
actually
order for him in the restaurants.
Oh, heck
There are
yeah.
a lot of a lot of lofty promises being made here, but yeah. Okay.
Well,
Okay, so you go
the food.
strict vegan for 3 months. You will find that you will improve your aura. You may not be able to see it if you're wearing that hat, but
That's
your
true,
aura
true.
will improve.
I gotta get rid of the beanie.
Sales pitch, right?
Your blood work will improve, and then you will live long enough to enjoy all your success for 100 years. And it's just a it's a better life path than to think about that you're ready for mortality. That's not a good attitude.
I agree with it.
Yeah. So, Jillian, you're in?
I'm obviously in.
All right. Nathaniel, are you in?
I can't make any promises.
Oh my God.
Will you at least let me do the blood test and the cholesterol test? Yeah. I think it's
trying to fit a line into was this an intervention?
No, I didn't.
Welcome to the Glenn Mercer intervention hour.
No, this is not an intervention.
Hey, you know what? I can make a promise to go at least vegan or vegetarian 1 day a week for sure every week.
Oh, no, 1 day a week doesn't impress me. I'll eat like a human being for 1 day a week. No, I'm not impressed. No.
I can.
What about 4 days a week eating vegan? 4 days. That's it.
I think I could do Two. Maybe.
That's
Two.
weak.
What is so?
What if I
What
find
is
out
the
your
hard part?
cholesterol's high?
What is the hard?
The
Now
hard
you've
part for
mentioned
me-
that if you're on the road and they prepare hot dogs for you or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
but at home, what is the hard part?
Oh,
Well,
we don't.
number
we
one,
don't have a home.
home. That's
don't have a
probably the
kitchen.
most challenging
Not
thing.
having a home is the hard part.
Number two, life on the road is very, very, very difficult.
How do I
For
manage
me.
it though?
Oh,
He manages it.
How do I manage?
Well, you must be. Let's all hail Jillian.
No, I'm
Yes.
just asking a question.
No, I think
How
that
do I manage and you don't?
it's a priority for you. It's a
number
major
one
priority
priority
for you. But we're not
When
the
you
same
make
people.
when you make health the number one priority, it helps with everything else.
Do you think it will get us on the charts with our music?
Yes, absolutely.
There's a lot of
Is it
vegans
the-
in
A
LA.
Is it
lot
the
of
vegan
vegans
mafia? They're gonna
are
show
right
up?
at the top of the charts.
Moby must be onto something.
Yes, Moby's onto something.
Billie Eilish, Phineas.
Billie Eilish. yeah.
I don't know about her. She seems like she's just playing it.
No,
just to
no,
make
she's-
it sound-
No,
She's
no.
little.
Billy's
Okay,
a
alright.
vegan.
She's straight
Okay.
since she
All
was
right,
little.
I got my doubts, but we'll go with it.
No, she is. She is.
Yeah.
Well, this is fake news. You're making fake news. Billie
I'm not
Eilish
making
is
fake news.
are. She's freaking vegan. They've been vegan
She's
since they were
vegan.
little.
Okay.
Now
I
I forget. Is Beyonce vegan?
She was for like a month.
Oh, in that month, as I recall, some of her best music of all time.
Best work, most profound work. Hey,
Yes.
now if you in the next 3 months can come up with a thesis that the best work has come out while people are under vegan,
Whoa.
Oh, that's been proven in a study in the New England Journal of Medicine. Proved that a lot of the best musical work, some of Beethoven's best work, was when he was vegan.
Wait,
well, was he during the Black Plague or was that Mozart?
You got me.
I'm
But,
thinking during that time you probably
But
couldn't.
the plague did not affect vegans.
That's
The plague-
true.
The
Paul
plague killed
McCartney.
everybody else.
Paul McCartney is vegetarian. He's been vegetarian for like ever. He looks
Yeah.
amazing.
His post Beatle work has been good, and the last 10 years has been.
He's been vegetarian since he was
Decent.
with the Beatles, though.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
When
yeah.
I don't know about that.
Oh no, him and his wife Linda, when they were
Yeah. And
yeah,
his daughter Mary
is yeah.
is like a
Advocate.
vegetarian,
Vegetarian.
nearly vegan chef, and
Yes.
she has a TV show about vegan cooking.
And another thing we have to talk about, just because we spend a lot of time in LA, we have to figure out a way to make vegetarian food less expensive, because we go to a lot of vegetarian
It is
restaurants
expensive, yeah.
and they charge more money for the same dishes even though they're vegetarian. And as
That is weird.
as an opportunitarian, I have to admit I don't quite understand that. But that's something that also is a challenge for us as well, is that sometimes when we go to vegetarian, it is very, very expensive, and that can be a
Well,
significant
the least healthy food is the cheapest. The McDonald's.
Mhm.
And that's in part because your tax dollars go to the government to subsidize the raising of beef and cheese so that it's not as expensive as it naturally would be if it wasn't a socialist enterprise with the government subsidizing it. So
Mhm.
if the price of a McDonald's burger was a fair market price, it would be $20. But the government is subsidizing heart attacks. The government is
Yeah, well,
subsidizing.
I
Yeah,
do
there's no
believe that.
surprise
We
there,
believe
yeah.
that. There's no surprise in that.
Yeah. So, beans and rice aren't expensive. So, did I hear Nathaniel say that he's willing to do this, or did I dream that?
I don't think you're going to get a firm commitment out of me.
What about 4 days a
Well,
week? Just 4.
I don't think 4 is going to happen.
Could we do 3?
I'm,
Three's
I'm
good.
empathizing with the desire, and I want that to come true. But unfortunately,
Okay,
I'm
how
not
about
gonna
this?
promise
How
you
about
something I
how
know
about
is
we,
not
how
gonna
about we meet him
happen.
halfway?
Yeah.
4 days a week vegetarian.
No,
You
I
couldn't do
said
that?
1 to 2. Well, I would start there. There has to be a starting
Well,
point.
okay, fine. That's fine. 2 days, we'll take it. And we're gonna get our blood test and cholesterol levels tested so we know where we're starting at.
I don't know. I don't know why you're putting me on the spot for such a firm commitment right now. I don't know. I'd have to
Just-
think.
just
So
about
is
it.
this
in the
2
blood-
days? Is this 2 days vegan? Because I
Yes.
would recommend vegan over vegetarian.
2
Anyway.
days vegan, You could do that. No problem. No problem.
That's tough. Vegetarian, probably. Vegetarian, because
my
cheese for
gosh.
me, that would be tough. Because a lot of times when I eat pasta, I put cheese on it. And that's when I eat vegetarian. I could never give up fresh pasta. That is a completely not possible.
Vegan,
so eggs,
vegan pasta.
and I don't know if there's eggs in durum flour, but
no, it's just water.
Yeah. Then
That's vegan.
Yeah, this would be.
He's a tough one, but I think we've made some progress in a 2-day commitment of being vegan. You could do 2 days.
There's a lot of pressure here. I can't believe how much pressure is being put on. And my thing is,
here we go.
We have to hold, just like going back to the film, you have to hold space for people and their differences, because everybody's on the spectrum as far as progress and everything else. And yes, we do have to move fast, and yes, we do have to make changes, but not everybody's as comfortable being where you are at right now, and that's unfortunately okay. Or you're at least going to have to be okay with it, rather.
You like it sometimes, though. You like when I cook vegan.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you cook vegan, I'll eat vegan. Yeah, but life on the road is not that.
Well, maybe we need to.
So there's no home base for you guys right now.
Not right now.
No, we're getting ready to move everything out west. So we have half of our stuff and gear out west in right now in Scottsdale, Arizona, but we're headed to the Midwest to grab the rest of our stuff and hopefully either relocate here or in Los Angeles. So we're deciding right now.
So you're either going to be in Los Angeles or which other city?
Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
That's the
well. And you've been in the Midwest. You've been based in the Midwest most of your lives, right?
Well, we moved to Brooklyn, New York, and that was 2014. Then we were there till 2018. Then we went to London to record our album. And then we've been touring literally nonstop, living on the road since 2019 to now.
2019, we got rid of our apartment in Brooklyn, which was the last place that we had a kitchen.
Yeah.
And that was, ever since then, I mean, there's a whole series of struggles that you could just even talk about as far as life on the road. And, but it's interesting. We've got a lot of friends that have sent us messages recently. I mean, talking about inflation, talking about the cost of life happening right now in America. People are trying to reduce their expenses, reduce their monthly overhead. And, we're lucky that we've been able. Yes, but we've been lucky to be able to avoid some of that because we've been able to control the costs of our lives because we are, living out of the van, which has been something that does not sound good, and I don't like referring to it, but it is something that we've had to do both financially, but it's also made it possible for us to continue to promote the film, because making music and making films these days, obviously we love doing it, but it's very, very difficult. And like I said in the beginning, I could have done a lot of different paths in life that could have made a lot more money for us as a family in it, but also individually. And so we're lucky that we've been able to be adaptable. It's allowed us to promote this film and get it out there. And, we had an opportunity to even be included in the Oscar eligible films last year, which was really cool. And that was something we were able to do because of this lifestyle. So we're thankful, but we're also very pragmatic in the way that it's a difficult life. It's difficult decisions day to day, difficult planning out our lives and all that stuff. In addition to thinking about as a couple having kids, other things like that. I mean, it's very, very challenging to even have those thoughts go through our heads, and we're going to be making an 8-hour drive to LA tomorrow, and how are we going to survive that? It's pretty hard day to day doing what we do.
All right. Well, we wish you luck, and I have confidence you'll have great success, but it will come sooner if you're a vegan.
All right.
Then you'll have a longer period of time to enjoy it.
I like this.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think gratitude is very important. Don't you agree? Gratitude is very important.
It's number one.
Nathaniel, gratitude is important. Yeah.
Oh yeah, gratitude.
So if Jillian makes a good vegan meal or puts it before you on the table, I'm sure you'll be grateful and you'll eat it.
He will. He always does.
I always do.
So you just have to keep doing that.
You have to remember, an opportunitarian will take advantage of whatever is available. So if there's vegan cooking going on, I'm going to be a part of it.
All right. So this is how we can trick an opportunitarian into eating healthy vegan food, because you just keep giving him the opportunity to eat healthy vegan food,
I love
and
this.
he thinks he's being an opportunitarian, but he's
There you go.
actually,
I mean,
you
it's a
and
lot
I
of
know.
catering you'd have to do to my needs, but hey, if
I
it's
cater.
done,
Hey, who caters to
if
your
done
needs?
well,
Who loves
I
you?
think she's probably
serious.
able to do that.
Who caters?
All right, we're gonna
All
have
right,
to go
well.
now.
progress is happening.
All right.
Glenn, you're the best.
So, Jillian Speece and Nathaniel Hoff. The film is State of the Unity. You can find it on Amazon and Apple TV. You can find the Bergamot at thebergamot.com and look for their upcoming gigs. And then there's the Wild Wondrous Women's Retreat. And what was the website for that?
WildWondrousWomen.com.
wildwondrouswomen.com and check that out. All right. So it's great seeing you both and continued success.
Thanks so much for having us
Thank
on. It was
you.
fun.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been the Glenn Mercer Show, where everyone listening turns vegan, regains their health, and annoys their friends and relatives. Find us on YouTube at The Glenn Mercer Show and across all your major podcast platforms. Don't forget to subscribe.